welcome to Cosmedi Pros. I'm Matt Quinn. I'm excited today to be talking to my friend Ollie Young, who is also a Scalp Micropigmentation clinic owner of Scalp Art Clinic, which is based in Essex. So Ollie, welcome to the show.
Thanks very much for having me, Matt.
That's good, mate. Good to see you here. So just to start a little bit, why don't you just tell people, how you got into scalp micropigmentation, what your journey into the industry was?
Okay, great question. So to start right at the beginning, but the viewers and listeners don't. So everyone knows you're an absolute expert in this field. So you worked with a very successful SMP clinic, a good friend of ours years ago. And ultimately, basically from there, I ended up having my treatment done through, the exposure to the industry from yourself. I ended up having my treatment done. This was just sort of slightly after COVID, really. The world was a bit upside down. Everything was a bit crazy. And then, in a weird way, sort of fell into it, if I'm completely honest. Had the treatment done myself, thought it was absolutely amazing. Not to be cliche, changed my life, for self-esteem and emotional health point of view. And then essentially ended up doing the training, was offered the training from the guy who owned and ran the clinic at the time. Ended up doing the training, absolutely loved it. Really didn't think it'd be anything I could actually do myself. Didn't think I was artistic or creative in any way, but it turns out that, drawing impressions on scalps is my calling, funnily enough. And then ended up working there for quite a long time. After that, was offered sort of another job opportunity, really, in a completely different field. Ended up working there for a little while. Essentially, really, really missed the SMP, the day-to-day life, the transformation stories, being able to help all manner of different people, and then decided I want to get back into this industry, and I'm going to do so my own way. Just the way I wanted SMP to be done, the whole thing, the way I wanted to run a clinic. And then from there, Scalp Art was born, basically.
So with opening, so you did the training. I know you mentioned you did off-call training. So that's obviously I've spoken with a couple of other guys. That kind of thing, I think, is definitely pushing in the industry at the moment for getting better foundation for the training.
Definitely.
So what would you recommend to others, people watching the show, thinking of getting involved in the industry? What would be the qualities they should look for when they're thinking of training in SMP? Or, there's a lot of options on the market at the moment. What would you say would be some of the core things they should consider?
So there are loads and loads of different options, SMP, and also this extends, I personally think, to the wider, cosmetic and aesthetics industry as a whole. It's a thriving industry, and it's an ever-increasing industry that is becoming ever more popular. The increase in skill, technology, and equipment is making it much more accessible to people. So with that becomes, I think, people that have been in the industry a little while, I think partially some of it is a little bit greed orientated, where there will be a lot of training and a lot of companies that will, they can make a flashy website and they might be great at sales, but they may not necessarily actually be very good at the thing they're trying to sell or that they are offering the training in. I don't doubt some of these companies' passions, but the application, I personally feel, on a lot of these crash course training just leaves a lot to be desired. So if you're personally looking to get into the industry, you need to be doing a lot of research. Firstly, it needs to be accredited. So any company out there that does offer training that is accredited through CPD, Ofqual, whoever it may be, that's obviously your first thing to look for, because when it comes to your licensing from your local authority, some local authorities don't actually need you to be officially registered with a qualification, but the majority do. And I think personally that should just be a prerequisite. You can't get your license and you can't get all your relevant insurances without having a recognised qualification. Personally, I think you need to really, really look into the business that you're looking to get your treatment, your training from. Thoroughly look through their Instagram, their websites. You're going to probably spend quite a lot of money doing your training. And essentially, if you're going to train something that's going to be your career, I want to feel that my trainer knows absolutely everything there is to know about the subject. Because obviously, if I'm going to be the student, I need to learn from someone who knows absolutely as much there, as is possible to learn. So, don't get fooled, essentially, what I'm trying to say is by flashy websites, sales tactics and things like that. Look at the photos of the treatments these guys are producing, because if they can't produce 10 out of 10 quality SMP, don't believe that they'll be able to train someone to produce SMP to an acceptable, high standard. Because ultimately, this is a massive thing for someone to go through having SMP. If you don't have any hair, the emotional implications and negative effects that can have on a lot of people, it's quite a big treatment. So I feel that you need to have someone that knows how to deliver this treatment properly, that's got the required skill level. It's not just because the problem you have with SMP, personally, I find, is a lot of companies, they do some treatments and then they kind of run away with, oh, we're going to train people, because I think personally they get blinded with, we can charge X amount of money. It's quite an easy way to sell as well. Work for yourself, open your own clinic, earn £10,000 a month. And it's easy to get people to buy into that. And I just personally think if you haven't got the required skills, you shouldn't be training it, because ultimately it's going to lead to more bad practitioners than good ones, which are going to potentially damage people. I get people in my clinic all the time that have had incredibly substandard SMP, and we have to send them to get laser before we can go and do their treatment properly, because unfortunately, this isn't everyone. There's some absolutely amazing SMP clinics and practitioners and trainers out there that take it so seriously and are absolutely phenomenal at what they do. But for every one of those, there's probably 10 that aren't. And unfortunately, I feel that again, not just SMP, aesthetics industry as well, that is to the detriment of the industry. Because if that was your first exposure to SMP and you saw someone with blowouts, migration, bad fading, pick anything you like. And if that was the first time you ever saw SMP, you think, this isn't for me. But you might have been unlucky and happened to have clicked on a few of the bad clinics out there. And so I would just say, anyone looking to do it, you need to be looking for the registered qualification. You want longevity in the clinic you go in, and just a general good rapport with the trainer. Really, is probably what I would look for in the training.
Really great insights there, Ollie. Yeah, a couple of things I think we can kind of look a bit more there. So I think firstly, like you mentioned, about people see bad SMP or bad treatment, it's kind of bad for the industry as a whole. And this is one thing. I think SMP is still relatively new. It's still kind of growing. I kind of notice I'll still have to explain sometimes to people what scalp micropigmentation is. It's not like everyone knows what it is. So I think, it's really important just as an industry that there's people are putting out good quality work. Because like you say, if people sort of see one bad example, they kind of don't necessarily know the difference between artists. They just think, oh, that is SMP, that's what it's going to look like.
100%.
They go look at it like. So I definitely think having standards and the people doing sort of the mass training, which again is a bit of a trend there has been.
I think it's a hot topic at the moment within the industry.
Talked about it with a couple of other people I've spoken to as well, and I just know from the side of stuff that I do, you see a lot of it popping up, and I think because like you put on it, sometimes it can be a slightly easier and quicker sale. I just think for the good of the industry, I think those people who are more established or, are taking positions where they are seen, it's quite important for them to make sure they are putting out good work. And maybe
I think they've probably got a social responsibility, really.
It's good for the whole industry. You need to raise the standards, and it's going to raise everything up. And I think sometimes as well, though, I did say this because it's a bit of you might actually have an opinion on this, but also sometimes it's not necessarily some of the newer people who aren't as skilled, it's not necessarily their fault, because if they've been with a particular trainer, and like you said, I think you mentioned crash courses, you need practice. You need to kind of do a little bit more than just the melons. You need to do like the real head. So if they haven't had enough oversight or enough practice in their training, they might be coming out and doing subpar work, not as good work, and it might not necessarily be their fault exactly.
It's not really their fault.
Practice.
Yeah. So I look at it like, take traditional tattooing. A traditional tattooist doesn't go and do a short course or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days, even a 6-month course. They will shadow, an established tattoo artist for probably about 2 years before they are, fully fledged. I'm my own tattoo artist, and and again, this doesn't just go for SMP. This is the whole aesthetics industry. You can go and do a half-a-day course where you can go and inject filler and God knows what else into people's faces and lips. And then essentially you've got that little certificate, you're off to go and do it. Now, it's great that we're able to get people through and, maybe teach them in a proper sterile classroom environment. That's absolutely brilliant. But should it be able to be done that quickly? Again, not just for SMB, the whole industry. I don't think it's the right thing to be doing. But then also, it's quite difficult in this day and age to quit your job, for example, go and do some training, and then shadow someone for 6 months, a year, and slowly build up your practice and your portfolio and your hours, to be able to get highly competent. Because, with SMP, every single treatment is different. Scalps are different. The way that people's actual overall health is, which will affect, how you apply the treatment. We need to be using the Fitzpatrick scale and the Norwood scale in conjunction with each other. You need to fully understand that. You need to understand the difference between, organic, non-organic, semi-organic inks. You need to understand what you're doing and why, and you need to learn that over a long period of time on 50 clients plus. You shouldn't do that in a week. It's just impossible. But then ultimately, everyone does have to start somewhere as well. So, it is a tricky one. But yeah, like you said, it's not really necessarily up to the people who physically done the training's fault. Because, like you said, if you've been trained by someone who's substandard, the best you could ever hope to be is substandard, right?
Yeah, you're only going to be as good as
the
people who trained you, and then you find out as you move along where you can improve and sort of work towards that. And I think the other thing that you point on, which I think is something I see a lot, and maybe might have been a bit different for you, because I know you kind of had a bit of a business background before, so SMP wasn't necessarily your first rodeo going into business, but earn £10,000 a month straight away on release and that. And I think a lot of people come into the industry not realizing, okay, they've got their they pay for their training, they pay for their website. There's a lot of other costs and a lot of other stuff involved in a business. And yes, you can make those sort of figures, but there's certain other things that may have to be done, or there's going to be a little bit of time period. So
definitely,
I think maybe just from your experience in SMP, and maybe just like I say, I know you've kind of got a bit of a general business overview anyway. What do you think people should think before coming in the industry, maybe beyond the hype, if you like?
So always in regards to the earning potential, and again, I would probably take this into the application of the treatment as well, is just caution. Like you said, you're not going to there is the potential to earn £10,000 a month plus, if you're dedicated, you put the work in. But like you said, it doesn't just stop at, you've got to deck out your whole clinic. That's going to cost a hell of a lot of money, because from my perspective, you need things to a very high standard, because you want to make sure your licensing is perfect, your website, but you need to invest a lot of money in marketing, and I mean a lot. You're going to have monthly budgets for paying to Google of, thousands. You need to invest in long-term SEO. You might earn £10,000 a month, but you need a premises to do your work out. There are insurances, there are licenses, so there are advertising costs. You might earn 10,000, but you're going to spend 8,000 probably. Obviously, because it is a skill, the markup on the product is fairly high. Obviously, because to technically, to produce a session of SMP, it's just the consumables, and then it's all your time, which is obviously what you get paid for, because it's a massive skill. So that's why it comes with a high markup. So you need to do a lot of it still, because you've got high costs, because you're selling this isn't a necessity, I don't think, SMP. It's a luxury. We say it's a luxury. So you're not going to get, if you were a garage, and your car breaks down, you need to get that fixed. Or if you're, Tesco, you're going to go there because you need food, right? People don't need SMP. So that's why, you have to put extra time and effort in, and then, to chase every sale, to be able to earn these big figures. But because it is such a niche product, it has big costs associated with it as well, So don't get fooled by that earn 10 grand a month on your first day. We'd all be doing it, right, if it was.
Yeah, I'd be starting SMP tomorrow.
Exactly.
But it is, I think it's just good to have the insight. And I mean, it's not just SMP that's like that on the training, just putting it on the other side. Like, I know within my industry, it's very much the same. You'll get adverts, we'll get you 30 clients a month, or you don't pay, all this. What they don't tell you is that, oh yeah, you've still got to pay like the 4-figure ad spend, or
Yeah, I get it all the
yeah,
time. They come to me, we'll do it for free, and then you speak to them, and they go, "Yeah, just front £4,000 of Google ad budget."
yeah,
Well, I
yeah,
could do it myself with a £4,000 Google ad budget.
yeah.
You know, like
It's, what they mean is, yeah, you're not paying our fee, but you've still got to pay Google and Facebook. People just have to do the research on that, on like, factor in your marketing costs, your premises costs, your ongoing training costs. Don't just think you're going to get launched. I think especially if you are new and you haven't got much experience as well, I think one of the real important things is getting that first portfolio, getting those first 10 clients. Because in your industry in
100%.
particular, if you haven't got the reviews, or people very much choose their artists, so if you haven't got that portfolio or you haven't got the reviews on the website or the testimonials, even if you go and throw money at ads or throw money on other marketing, it can just be really hard to actually convert those sales. Because
Ultimately, mate, who's going to let someone tattoo their head? If I'm looking at 2 clinics, he's got 100 5-star Google reviews, he's got a 0. Who are you going to choose? Like, we're talking about tattooing someone's head. That's a massive sentence to even say. And like you said, or who's, going to inject lip filler or do your eyebrows or Botox? Like, you need, the first, I found personally, my first, like you said, 10 clients were the hardest ones to ever get, because you have no social proof that you're any good at this, at what you're doing. Then once you've got 150, 200 completed SMP clients, and you can show literally any hairline design, any skin color you've worked with, any age you've worked with, pretty much any client that walks through the door now, I guarantee I've probably got minimum 5, maybe 10 clients, previous clients that I can show them. So it does become, it's like anything, the more established you get, again, not just for SMP, it could be for any brand, the more you've done something, the more established you are, the more you're going to be trusted. So yeah, definitely.
Let's have a little look. I know for you, because you actually had SMP yourself, and that was part of your journey into it.
Definitely.
You spoke in the intro of how it actually gave you a bit of the confidence. You felt a lot better after you got it done, and that's part of the reason you like working with clients and getting the testimonials. So what are, for the clients you've seen, and I mean, when I ever see sort of testimonials and people who've got it, they are very happy with it. So day to day, what is the kind of feedback, and how is that coming into work and making that positive change?
Personally, to me, it gives me such great job satisfaction, for one. I never get up in the morning and think, oh, I've got to go to work. Like, it's great to come to work. It's great to meet, new people very, very regularly from all different walks of life, because hair loss, pattern baldness, alopecia, whatever you're suffering from, that doesn't discriminate. If you're old or young, rich or poor, like, it doesn't discriminate. So, I've had clients who are, who are surgeons, solicitors, someone, he was like, I even had a client who built something to his satellites for NASA, all the way right down to like a bin man, or not that I'm saying that in a detrimental thing, but, every single walk of life, you get to meet people. So you get to have different experiences, different stories, which is absolutely brilliant. And when you are the one that can help them, some people have SMP done purely because maybe they're a little bit vain, which is still really cool when you do those transformations, because they like how they look and they want to look, they want to look good. They want to sharpen their features up, frame their face. But for me, it's the ones that genuinely suffer with their emotional health and well-being due to hair loss. So I've got one more session to go with a young man next week. He was diagnosed with alopecia universalis when he was 15. He was 18 in August last year. We started his treatment around about November. So we've been taking it very slow to build up. And like when I get messages, I've had messages from him, various other clients, not just the 5-star Google reviews or the reviews on the booking system. It's when they just text you out of the blue. Hi, mate. Just wanted to say, like, I really appreciate what you did for me. You've turned my life around. And, like, genuinely, not to be cheesy or corny, like, that actually means the world. Because I genuinely feel like the world is just a horrendous place these days. So if you can actually put something good back into it, when I had mine done, I knew I was thinning and going bald, and I was always like, yeah, I'll shave it soon. I couldn't really bring myself to do it. The lad that ended up doing my SMP for me, brilliant artist at the time, no longer does SMP, But he sort of subtly pushed me and was basically, mate, we need to get this done. And I'm so glad he did, because the difference it made to me was astronomical. So, and if I get to do that to people as well, that just makes it, it's so rewarding. Hence why I really, really pushed to get my clinic affiliated and partnered with Alopecia UK, biggest hair loss charity in the country, because, you generally find that people that got diagnosed alopecia tend to be a little bit more suffering from the emotional and the mental health. So that's why I really wanted to work with Alopecia UK to be able to, expose this treatment to people, because a lot of people still don't really know what SMP is, as you said earlier. So, hence why we are able to offer, and why we do offer the treatment at a slightly lower price. Because if we'll take my lad I spoke about earlier, he was technically 17 when he first came to see me. Obviously, for legal reasons, we can't be tattooing anyone until they're 18. But what if I was to charge the full rate that I'd want for a full head of SMP? What 17-year-olds could afford £3,000? Really? So hence why we've got the reduced price going on in conjunction with Alopecia UK to make this treatment attainable. And I just think, again, that's all part of the emotional well-being and the rewarding aspect of this job, because you get to actually turn people's lives around. Having said that, we're not a conveyor belt. I'm not a conveyor belt in this clinic. I'll only ever see 2 clients in a day to ensure that the standards of work are still as high as you can possibly get, because I think any more than that, and I wouldn't be able to produce the best work. And I want every single client to walk away, absolutely happy and getting what they wanted. So, I think it's just such a rewarding career, mate. And I love doing it. And the best thing is when you get a message from someone out the blue, or when we do a video testimonial for somebody, and you'll say, I just done your treatment, Matt, would you mind if I get a quick video testimonial from you? And, the more outgoing ones will do it. And they'll say, what are you going to ask me? And I say, I don't know yet. And then I just plonk the camera in front of them, and I say, look, just tell, just on the, off the cusp, tell me what you feel. And then you ask them, how did it make you feel? Tell me about your journey, or what do you think the results are? And when they come back with such positive things, and it's genuine, because you've just said the question there and then, they haven't gone away and they haven't written answers and things like that. They're all 100% genuine. And you actually hear such positive things from people. It's just mind blowing. And you think, this is the one, So it's really cool to be in an industry where you get to do some good.
That's good, mate. Definitely a good way. I think that's, getting the alopecia, becoming the private of them was a really good achievement for you guys.
Thank you.
I know that's sectioned off kind of by area location. So you're going to be the only guys in your area doing it. And I think, it's a market that needs it. And like we sort of said, with, there might be quite a lot of that market that don't actually know about SMP as is actually an option for them. So I think you kind of connecting and bringing that is, and I mean, it's not even just good for you. It's, again, good for SMP as an industry, because yes, you're the provider kind of around your area. With more people in the Alopecia UK community hear about it, even if they're outside your area, they're obviously going to start contacting SMP clinics that are more local to them, actually looking at it as an option.
It further proves as well, gives that more social proof that, Scalp Art as a clinic, and myself, and Chris, just take it so seriously, because the hoops that would jump through, shall we say, to get the partnership, the treatment provider with Alopecia UK. Again, it's not just about being able to provide and produce a high standard of SMP, it's understanding the emotional, like I said, the emotional and mental health implications as well. And, it's instead of, which I think just further adds to the fact that how seriously we do take it, and that we want to make sure this is the best that we physically can do it, on all aspects, which is really, really cool.
Looking at some positive influences in the industry, is there any kind of resources you would recommend, particular artists you would look up to or follow in the industry, either here, that you'd kind of think like someone coming into SMP should kind of take notice of, maybe look towards for guidance?
Great question. I think no matter how good you get at anything, I think there should always be someone that you look up to and that you strive to emulate and be. So for me, there's one person, so that would be Grant from Scalp Perfection. He's based in Norwich. He's probably been in the industry since pretty much day one, I should imagine. I'm actually going to do, in March, I'm doing Grant's advanced training, because again, going back to what I said, no matter I think how good you get at SMP, I think you can always improve, and you should always strive to improve, like no matter what you do. Myself, not just SMP, but I've done several other CPD qualifications around SMP as well, infection control, sharps training, all that kind of stuff as well, because I think it all goes hand in hand. So yeah, Grant from Scalp Perfection. So he's currently mentoring me as well, which is really good. We have weekly check-ins. It's just very, very thorough. Just teaching me a lot more than I already knew. And I like to think I'm a good standard with SMP, but again, there's always room for improvement. I'm just really excited, and I've noticed my treatments already just from the mentoring, via phone, WhatsApp, video call, already improving. So when I get to do, my 5 days in the clinic with him, I can't wait to see where I'm going to go. So yeah, I would say Grant is probably the one that I look up to. So yeah, we'll put him down. We'll give him a little nod, shall we?
Give him a shout out on the media, on the socials. But that's good. Yeah, I think as well, you could almost get quite isolated in your work if you weren't reaching out and talking to other artists. I know you've got Chris there as well, but a lot of clinics are just sole operators, and they are. So I think it's good when the artists, whether it be kind of within the communities or if they're just talking like the kind of will talk to each other, will share ideas. And
I think it's just important that there is a community, and it's not I'm against you and against you and against you. There are some clinics that are like that, all around the country. We see it somewhere up in, hypothetically, I don't know, Liverpool, and then there might be someone else commenting negatively on their work or wherever not. And, we're a community, and we should be striving to improve each other. So again, that's something that Grant kind of encourages, that we're all, the people that do take it seriously, and he kind of makes it a little bit more exclusive. If you've done his training, then we're kind of a little bit of a group, shall we say, and then we can all mentor each other and help each other. So there's a bloke, Chris from Scalp Craft, who's close-ish to me, done Grant's training. I can speak to him as well. Just again, it's all about encouraging each other and helping each other, because personally, I don't think there's a problem with the amount of work out there. It's not like I have to not be friends with everyone because they'll take my business. Boldness is not going away. There's a lot of bold people out there. So, I think if we can all strive to improve each other and help each other, then that's an absolutely brilliant thing.
So what's next for Scalp Art really over the next, say, 12 to 18 months? I know you mentioned you're going to go and do your master training. What's your vision or the goals apart from changing lives and giving people confidence back?
That's your everyday, isn't it? Changing
that's your day to day. We know we're doing that.
We'll say that.
Yeah, where would you like to see Scalp Art?
So, I mean, to me personally, so Scalp Art as a clinic is almost 1 year old. Like we covered at the start of the interview, I have been in SMP for a good few years now. So I think still I'm not a beginner, but I think there's still a long way to go. I don't really foresee myself at this present time wanting to train anybody. I just really want to focus, on growing my clientele, just doing amazing transformations. One thing that we're looking to move into is actually laser removal, and that's kind of due to what we spoke about earlier, the amount of bad treatments out there. I love the idea that, for someone to come in who's got horrendous SMP, it takes a lot to restore their confidence, because if they've had a bad treatment, they're going to be reluctant to expose themselves to that again. So I love the idea that I can help you and I can control the whole process as well. And then, I've done some of my qualifications for that already. Still got a little bit more to go, because again, I don't just believe in doing the 3 hours online CPD course and zapping someone's head with a laser. Again, I think that's just as bad as this is during a day's SMP training and then go and taking the needle someone's head. So just to provide the full on, 100% package there for the SMP industry. And then, like I said, I'm very keen to become an advocate and keep pushing out, the alopecia side of thing. And like I said, the community, as it were, that we sort of discussed on, that I know Grant's keen to build of sort of, a real high level SMP clinics. Like I'm very, very keen to push that as well. So, if there was any sort of award, maybe like one of them could come my way as well. But just to keep doing what we're doing, just taking it seriously, producing amazing treatments, just keep focusing on that, really.
Looking forward to seeing you continue to grow
Thank you.
and build it out. So what do you see either in the industry or for Scalp Art personally, or kind of maybe a mixture of both? What's the biggest challenges you kind of see in the industry at the moment as a business owner trying to grow and keep the clientele and keep the good service?
Tough.
What do you think are your biggest challenges coming with that?
Tough. So everyone knows at the moment, and I hate using it, cost of living crisis, inflation, all the rest of it. Again, because of the type of products that we are selling in the industry that we are in, this is a luxury product. So, the first things to go when money gets tight is anything like this. So a downturn, in inquiries potentially, that is tough. We've just had Christmas, January, everyone gets their credit card statements. This is a tough time, for the industry and for most industries really. So that's obviously not an ideal thing to happen. And again, I don't mean to keep going on about it, but just the detriment that can be caused by, bad, just generally just bad standards of work, really. Just before Christmas, I had in-person consultation from a gentleman, and he'd looked into SMP a year before. And he didn't tell me the clinics that he'd inquired with, but he said, he saw some examples of work. He said it just looked unnatural. He said like blending and fading, you could just see it. It was like big clumps of dots on his head. It was like, I did not think SMP was very, very real. He said, so a year later, I looked again, I'm grateful he came across my Instagram, and he said, and it looks, I don't mean this as an ego boost to myself, but he said, it looked natural, it looked absolutely brilliant. It's exactly what he wanted. So if it hadn't been for the fact that he thought, I will just randomly try that, like we said at the beginning, if you look at some bad work, again, aesthetics, when you see people's lips that are out here, that may put someone off who just wants a tiny bit of filler to make it look natural. So I think those kind of things really are the two real main problems that we will have. Inflation, everything costing more, us having to put the prices up for people to do it. It might price out of people. Again, hence why I went for the alopecia. I've gone down that route to make it attainable and affordable, to open up to more people, to kind of assist with, the potential downturn in inquiries and clientele coming through the doors. So that's where I would say the challenges really, mate.
Some very great insights there and quite a lot to unpack with what you've shared. I think it's going to be very helpful. Is there anything else you'd want to touch on, either to professionals getting into the industry or maybe clients thinking about getting the treatment, that you'd like to share with the audience?
I think if you are looking to have SMP, as a prospective client, I think it's very important, again, like anything, you do your research. SMP is a bit, the way I see it, everyone has got their own style of doing SMP, personally. Just like, again, if you like a normal tattooist, some people go Japanese, some do black and grey, some like the traditional stuff. I think it's important that you do your own research to find an artist or practitioner that does the style of SMP that you want. So I favour the very natural, subtle, realistic look. Some clinics, depending on maybe where they're based due to their clientele, they may do a more sharp, edged up, a little bit bolder look, So I think it's really important to go for an artist that is competent in the style that you want. And again, can show you that validity by saying, I want a faded hairline with a little recede. Luckily, because I do a lot of natural looking, I can whip out 100 photos of various people that have had that. Whereas, a very sharp edged up, straight edge one, yes, we do that, but not so much. So, you might be better off going to somebody who was specialised in that. I don't take on every client that comes through my door, because again, I might not be able to provide them what they ultimately want. And that's just all about managing expectations. And I want you to have exactly what you want. So if someone else could do it better than me for what you want, I'll gladly send them your way. There's a lot of, flashy filters and effects you can use on social media these days. So be wary of any clinic that just has video after video with effects and filters and this and the other. If you can't see a still image of somebody's work, you know, I'd be worried about that, because, you know, you need to make sure that you're going to get, you know, what you're paying for is what you want. And if it's just in a, you know, in a filter with all sparkles all over it, can't really see the work. So definitely be careful of that, because I know there's a lot of that goes on as well, like touching up of images and things like that, you know. So definitely, if you're a client, yeah, you've got to be looking out for that.
I think it's definitely do the research.
You probably hear that as well quite a bit, don't you?
Yes, it's similar. I've done a couple of these now with, I think I've done 3 or 4 SMP artists now. And yeah, I mean, it's very, you know, in different ways, but similar things like, and I think just as well what you said there about choosing the artist is very good, because different artists do have a different style. And I think it was Simon Taylor I was speaking to, where he was saying it's not necessarily that like one artist is better than the other at, you know, the level. It's just that they've got a different style. That style might suit you or might be more what you want.
Exactly. You know, if I've got, for example, like a big Japanese dragon tattooed on my hand, I wouldn't go to a tattoo artist that specializes in black and gray realism portraits for that, you know, because it's not the style of work. So I wouldn't expect them to be able to do it. You know, they're amazing at what they do, and they're amazing at what they do. You just need to get the person that, you know, is best for what you want. 100%, mate, definitely. One other thing I would like to sort of point out as well is, again, we sort of mentioned again earlier about, this is again if you're a client, we mentioned earlier about, you know, qualifications and being registered and stuff like that. I think any trade organization that people potentially belong to, we've recently joined one, is sort of quite a growing thing, because, you know, they vet you, they register you, what they need to see all your insurance, samples of your work, all your license. Just the more, you know, anything that makes your business more reputable, you know, as a client coming in. You know, I always encourage anyone to come to my clinic, and whatever documentation you want to see, most of it's on the walls. You know, because it's just easier that way, the qualifications, the license, all the insurance. I think, again, people that are really, really taking it seriously, they'll have no hesitation in showing you all this. So I think there are some people trying to do some good, like we said, Cosmedi Check is one, to try and, you know, weed out the cowboys. Like we said, you've done half a day's course and you can inject someone with lip filler. They're trying to stop that kind of happening. So I think that's a really, really good thing to be looking out for as well. So there's some bad in this industry, but there's a hell of a lot of good as well, which is amazing, because ultimately it's a brilliant industry.
Yeah, agree there. Cosmedi Check, a very good organization. I actually just recently did the interview with Joseph Porter there. So yeah, I would say to anyone, check that out. And I think with stuff coming in and the regulation and stuff, I would advise people to go and get on that and certifies that you know what you're doing, you know, by a third party essentially. So I think that's kind of good for a professional. So, Ollie, where's the best place for people to get in contact with Scalp Art? I know you've got scalpart.com, the website. I think you're at Scalp Art on Instagram. Is that the correct handle?
So we're scalpartclinic.com online. Great inquiry form on there. If you wanted to get in touch for a consultation, you can upload a photo of your, you know, of your hair loss as well, which is cool, so we can see that immediately. All our social platforms are all at Scalp Art Clinic as well. Whatever social platforms, all the same. Get us on that. Send us a message. We always reply nice and quick, you know, where possible. So yeah, we're contactable all over the shop really. The website's the best one. Fill out the inquiry form, and, you know, get in contact with me there. That's the best way, I would say.
That's great, thank you. And wherever this is being watched, there will be links you can follow. And also, if you comment any questions, I'll answer them. I'm sure Ollie will answer on them, or I can pass them on, any comments.
Definitely.
Thank you for your time, Ollie. It's been very good to, you know, speak to you and hear a bit more about your journey and where you're going.
Thanks for having me, mate. It's been a pleasure. It's good to, you know, bring a little bit more of an insight into the industry and make it a little bit more sort of known to people as well, which is good. So yeah, thank you for giving me the opportunity to do that.
Everyone, make sure you like and subscribe to this wherever we're watching, because that helps us grow, and we're going to get more of these stories and insights. You know, part of Cosmedi Pros is, you know, to get a bit more of that real inside look into what actually does go on, what it is like on people's journeys. And that is just, you know, for putting out quality information for the aesthetic and cosmetic industries. So yeah, thank you for your time, Ollie.